It is finally a beautiful spring morning here in the Northeast. The sun is shining, it's not windy or rainy. It is just perfect to be out here in the morning and get some things planted. The birds are singing, oh, it just feels so good. So I have a couple of really fun things to do today. I'm going to plant up my front porch pots for spring, and I have a really beautiful peony to share with you. Hi, it's Steph. And check out the beautiful color on this spring foliage on this peony. This is an Itoh peony called Scrumdidleumptious. What a fun name, right? And what I really like about the Itohs is that they're a cross between an herbaceous peony and a tree peony. So they have nice, sturdy, upright stems and don't require staking, unlike a herbaceous peony, which would usually get floppy under the weight of those big, beautiful blooms if you didn't stake it. And this one here is by Iseli, which Iseli is a wholesale grower of specialty conifers and trees. They have lots of Japanese maples. We actually have a couple here in our garden. And they also have other plants like beautiful shrubs, Itoh peonies, ferns, and even grasses. So lots of beautiful selections. When you see that triangle tag at a nursery, you know you have something good. And so today I'm going to add this Itoh peony Scrumdidleumptious to this garden space here. So right here in our Japanese maple garden is where I have a couple of Itoh peonies already planted. I have one called Julia Rose, which is right here, and it was grown from bare root, so it's still quite small. But all of the stems are starting to come up. And then I have another one right here, which is the Cora Louise, which is also really beautiful. And it's also a bare root plant, so really tiny. And bare root plants take a couple of years to get up to speed, probably anywhere from 3 to 5 years for them to put on any significant blooming. Where if you purchase one in a pot already grown on this size, you're going to get blooms a lot sooner. So that is the trade-off with the bare roots. This is where I've decided to plant the Scrumdidleumptious, right in between this beautiful pine and this Japanese maple. And it's far back enough that even at its 30-inch height, I can still plant something really pretty in front, or even a drift of like a couple of plants right here. And this is a part sun to sun location, so it'll get enough light for it to bloom beautifully. Here are the specs on this Itoh peony. It has a globe-shaped growth habit. It gets to be 2 to 2.5 feet tall and wide, and it is hardy down to -30 degrees Fahrenheit. And it prefers sun to part shade, and it is deer resistant, which is excellent. I cannot wait to see this beautiful peony bloom this season. If you're ever looking for Iseli plants, in the description of my video, I have a link to the Iseli website where you can put in your zip code and it will tell you retailers near you that carry Iseli plants. As I finish up here in the backyard, I'm going to share with you an update on something that happened to those planters there a couple of weeks ago. You might recall a couple of videos back, I was working outside and it was really windy, and this planter here had knocked over and all of the soil spilt out, all of the bulbs that I had in here spilt out, and it made such a mess. And I had done the lasagna method where I put tulip bulbs first and then hyacinth bulbs on top. And so I picked up all the soil, I layered the bulbs back the best I could, and look, it's recovering beautifully. It's matching the other side pretty well. So all in all, doing pretty good. And my window boxes, all of the tulips are putting on some height now and should be blooming in the next couple of weeks. And spring is definitely springing. And even our Japanese maple katsura, which is the first one in our garden to leaf out each year, is looking gorgeous. This has the most beautiful fiery spring color in shades of orange and red and yellow. And we absolutely love it. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab some supplies, and we're gonna head to the front yard and put together some spring pots on the front porch. I've had to make a couple of trips to bring all of my things up, but we're gonna go ahead and plant up some spring planters. And here are my pansies and violas that I started back in January, and they're starting to bloom and look really pretty. So many different colors. Here are the pansies, the black devil ones that I grew last year. They're nice and dark, have a gorgeous deep color. So I have 3 planters here that I'm going to fill up and mix in with all of the spring blooming bulbs that I have. Some tulips that have not started blooming yet. I have some hyacinth. There's daffodils and grape hyacinth in these baskets. So it's gonna look really pretty, and I thought I would just fill in with some of the flowers that I grew from seed. So I also have here some Dusty Miller New Look. That is super easy to start from seed, and look how beautiful that foliage is. So pretty with this gray silvery color. And I have some Alyssum. Super easy annual to start from seed. Smells like honey. Really sweet little white bloom. And I'm gonna add that as a spiller in the containers. And recently, I picked up these 2 saxifragas from Lowe's, which are perennial. And what I really like about using perennials in my containers is that they're dual purpose. When I'm done with them in my containers, I can plant them out in my landscape. They have a really sweet little pink bloom. Now that I have my supplies, let's go ahead and get these planted up and complete this arrangement. I remembered that I also started some nasturtiums from seed, which are super easy flower to start from seed. They're cool weather annual. And this one here is the Cherry Rose Nasturtium, started on 3-9. So these are only about 5 to 6 weeks old, and look how beautiful they look. Nasturtiums have the most gorgeous foliage. They look like really large lily pads. All right, I just finished planting up the rest of my spring planters. I cleaned everything up. A leaf blower does a wonderful job of getting rid of all of the loose soil that ends up on the ground. And now I'm going to show you what I planted in all of the planters. Now these were all things that I started from seed, with the exception of 2 plants that I'll show you. So here I have the nasturtium. This is the Cherry Rose Nasturtium. Some of the Carpet of Snow Alyssum, and the New Look Dusty Miller in the center. All of these super easy to start from seed, great for spring containers. They can take cool temperatures. So if you've never grown from seed before, New Look Dusty Miller, Carpet of Snow Alyssum, and nasturtiums, any variety. But there are some that are vining and some that are more bushy, so that's what you would want to know when you're growing them, depending on your application. This is one that I put together a couple of weeks ago in another video, the same one where the planter in the back had fallen apart and tipped over. And this is a primrose that I picked up at Lowe's, which is perennial, so I can plant it in the garden when I'm done with using it in the container. There's some more buds coming up there. And I also have some New Look Dusty Miller, as well as this alyssum that is filling out beautifully. This one's been here in the pots for a few weeks now, so you can see how well it's growing. And then in this planter, I have my spring bulbs. Here are some tulips and some beautiful hyacinth. These are fall bulbs that you plant for spring blooms. And I planted these back several months ago, and they're looking lovely. This was a hyacinth mix. I tend to wait until the end of the season to pick up all my bulbs on clearance, so I get them done a little bit later. And here is the other planter. So here is the New Look Dusty Miller. I planted 2 of them in this pot, and some of the Florist Mix violas and the Black Devil pansies, also grown from seed. And I love how they're all different. Another Dusty Miller. I put a listum that I had left in here, and in the center I have Saxifraga, which is the perennial that I picked up that I'm also going to plant out in the garden. Such a sweet little bloom and tons of buds. So this should really fill out in the next couple of weeks. And here on this side, I also made up this planter with the plants started from seed. In the center, I do have the Saxifraga that I picked up at Lowe's, and that's perennial. Again, I'll put this one along with the other in the garden once I'm done with using it in my planter. And the New Look Dusty Miller. I really love this silvery foliage. I think it's such a beautiful foliage accent in the planter. And then the Florist Mix violas that I started. This one is my favorite so far. Look how beautiful that is. They're all different. So this one here is a dark purple with some yellow. And then some more of the Black Devil pansies, which these did well last year. They really flush out after they've been planted for a week or 2. And there's lots of buds. And then also the Sweet Alyssum, which should also fill in nicely. Put 3 of those in here. So I think that's going to look like a really pretty spring container as things fill out in the coming weeks. And here's the matching planter that I did a couple of weeks ago, also filling out nicely with the Primrose and the Dusty Miller and Alyssum. And here's another one that we did today with some of the Cherry Rose nasturtiums, the Black Devil pansies, which I think will look really beautiful with that fuchsia nasturtium, some Dusty Miller, and some Sweet Alyssum. And in these baskets here, I didn't take them apart from last year. There are some daffodil bulbs in here as well as some grape hyacinth. I don't see a lot of daffodils pushing through, just some foliage, but there are a couple of the grape hyacinth. And what I did was the violas and the pansies that I had left over, I just tucked in the center of the baskets. On this other side, I did the same thing. I had about 6 plants left, which was perfect. I put 3 in the center of each of the baskets. Look at this viola, also so beautiful. I love that. And a Black Devil pansy. Such a deep, dark, velvety black flower. And it's hard to find black flowers. There's only a few. This one's really gorgeous. And if you ever have baskets to plant up, these are weatherproof. They're like a plastic PVC material. I bought these at TJ Maxx probably 3 or 4 years ago now, and I love them. I get a lot of questions about them, but I have found that grow bags are perfect to line them. So I bought, I believe this is a 7-gallon grow bag. I flipped over the sides. I put it in here with soil, and it allows for drainage and so that the soil doesn't come out of the weaves in the basket. What do you think of my new watering can? Isn't it so cute? I just recently picked it up on Amazon. This one in a different style green one. Not sponsored. I bought them with my own money, but I'm kind of fussy about watering cans. I'm always on the hunt for some that will have a nice gentle stream and that they won't pummel my plants when I water. And this one has nice tiny holes, so I think it's going to be really nice and gentle. So I'm trying this one out and a green one. And if you're looking for a new watering can, I can link them down below. But I'm going to go ahead and fill them up, add some fertilizer, and get all of my plants watered. Well, it's been a few hours since I filmed. I took a break for lunch, and now it looks like it's about to pour. And I'm glad that I got all of these plots planted this morning with all of these plants that I started from seed. Growing spring plants from seed is a lot of fun because you get a lot of plants for not a lot of money, but you have to put in a little bit of time. But all in all, I think it looks really beautiful, and I can't wait until these tulips start to bloom. The ones in my walkway are actually already blooming. And before I went in, I did go ahead and add some of this Espoma bloom fertilizer into my watering can and watered everything in. This is a bloom booster, and because my flowers are already blooming, I want them to keep blooming, so I did go ahead and feed them. So that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for spending your time with me, and I will catch you in the next one.